The Science of Happiness. 5 Habits that Rewire Your Brain. Here's something that'll mess with your head. Your brain is physically changing shape right now. Not metaphorically, actually reshaping itself. And the wildest part? You're the one doing it, whether you realize it or not. Scientists at Harvard spent over a decade scanning people's brains while they practiced specific behaviors. What they found sounds like science fiction. Certain daily habits don't just make you feel better temporarily. They literally rewire the neural pathways in your brain, thickening regions associated with joy and shrinking areas linked to anxiety and depression. But here's the catch that nobody talks about. Most people are unknowingly doing the exact opposite. They're hardwiring their brains for misery, one innocent habit at a time. Today, I'm breaking down the 5 habits neuroscientists say actually restructure your brain for happiness, and why the timing of when you do them matters more than the habits themselves. Before we get into what these habits are, you need to understand something crucial about how your brain actually works. Because there's a reason why positive thinking doesn't work for most people, and it has nothing to do with willpower. Your brain has this thing called neuroplasticity. Basically, it's constantly rewiring itself based on what you repeatedly do. Think of it like walking through a forest. The first time it's hard, but walk the same path every day, and eventually you've got a clear trail. Your thoughts work the same way. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The gratitude paradox. The first habit sounds so cliché that you've probably rolled your eyes at it before, gratitude. But wait, because what neuroscientists discovered about how gratitude works completely changes everything you think you know. A neuroscience team at UCLA used fMRI scanners to watch what happens in people's brains when they practice gratitude. They expected to see activity in the brain's reward centers. That happened. But something else happened that nobody predicted. The medial prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for emotional regulation and decision-making, started showing increased gray matter density after just 3 weeks of daily gratitude practice. Basically, the part of your brain that helps you handle stress and make better choices was physically getting stronger. But here's the paradox nobody mentions. Generic gratitude doesn't work. Writing, "I'm grateful for my family," in a journal does almost nothing for your brain. The researchers found that specificity is everything. Your brain needs detail, sensory information, emotional texture. Instead of, "I'm grateful for my job," your brain responds to, "I'm grateful my coworker made me laugh so hard today that I forgot about my deadline stress for 10 minutes. See the difference? One is abstract. The other forces your brain to relive a specific positive moment, which creates new neural connections. The timing matters too. Most people do gratitude practice at night, but research from the University of California shows that doing it within the first hour of waking up is 40% more effective at mood regulation throughout the day. Your brain is more neuroplastic in the morning, more ready to form new patterns. So habit 1 isn't just gratitude. It's hyperspecific gratitude, practiced within 60 minutes of waking up for 3 minutes minimum. That's the exact protocol that changes brain structure. But if gratitude is about rewiring your brain to notice positive things, the second habit does something even more powerful. The movement breakthrough. It literally grows new brain cells. And no, I'm not exaggerating. For decades, scientists believed neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons, only happened during childhood. That belief was completely shattered in the late 1990s when researchers discovered that adult brains can generate new neurons in the hippocampus, the region responsible for learning, memory, and emotional regulation. But here's the kicker. Only one activity reliably triggers this neurogenesis in adults. Not meditation, not learning new skills. Exercise. Specifically, cardiovascular exercise that gets your heart rate elevated. A landmark study from the University of British Columbia found that regular aerobic exercise increases the size of the hippocampus. People who exercised for just 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, showed measurable hippocampal growth within 6 months. That's brain growth we can literally see on a scan. But the happiness connection goes deeper. During exercise, your brain releases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Scientists call it miracle grow for the brain. BDNF doesn't just help new neurons grow. It strengthens the connections between existing ones, particularly in areas that regulate mood. Here's what blew my mind. The type of exercise matters less than consistency. The University of Toronto found that people who walked briskly for 20 minutes daily showed the same neural benefits as people who did intense HIIT workouts. The magic number seems to be 20 minutes, 5 times per week minimum. The catch? The antidepressant effects of exercise are cumulative. It takes about 3 weeks of consistent movement before your brain chemistry noticeably shifts. Most people quit after a week because they don't feel different yet. They're literally stopping right before their brain was about to change. Which brings us to the third habit, and this one is controversial because it goes against everything the wellness industry teaches. The connection factor. Social connection. Real, in-person, face-to-face human interaction. Not texting, not Zoom calls. Physical presence. Harvard's 85-year study of adult development, one of the longest happiness studies ever conducted, tracked 724 people from adolescence through old age. The researchers expected to find that wealth, career success, or health would predict happiness. They found none of those things mattered as much as one single factor: the quality of people's relationships. But here's where the neuroscience gets fascinating. When you have meaningful in-person conversations, your brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Oxytocin doesn't just make you feel good temporarily. It actually reduces activity in the amygdala, your brain's fear and anxiety center. A study from the University of Michigan found that just 10 minutes of face-to-face conversation with another person improved cognitive function more than doing crossword puzzles. Your brain literally works better after connecting with others. The controversial part? Digital connection doesn't trigger the same response. Researchers at the University of Pittsburgh found that people who spent more time on social media actually reported higher levels of loneliness and lower life satisfaction. Why? Because your brain evolved to respond to physical cues, facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, even pheromones. A text message or video call gives you maybe 30% of that information. The prescription from neuroscientists: at least one meaningful, 15-minute in-person conversation daily. Could be with a friend, family member, coworker, even a barista. Quality matters more than quantity. Your brain just needs to feel genuinely seen and heard by another human. Now, the fourth habit is probably the most counterintuitive on this list. The flow state secret. It's about deliberately doing something difficult. Something that challenges you right at the edge of your ability. Neuroscientists call this flow state, but what it does to your brain is remarkable. When you're in flow, completely absorbed in a challenging activity, your brain enters a unique state. The prefrontal cortex, which handles self-criticism and doubt, temporarily deactivates. Meanwhile, your brain floods with norepinephrine and dopamine, creating a natural high more powerful than most drugs. But here's what makes this a happiness habit. Flow states don't just feel good in the moment. Research from the University of Sydney found that people who regularly enter flow states report 50% higher life satisfaction scores. The reason? Flow teaches your brain that challenge equals reward, rewiring your stress response. Most people avoid challenge because it feels uncomfortable, but your brain interprets avoidance as danger, which increases baseline anxiety. When you regularly do hard things and succeed, you're literally training your brain that you're capable, which reduces anxiety long-term. The sweet spot for flow: tasks that are about 4% harder than your current skill level. Too easy and you're bored. Too hard and you're anxious. Right at that edge, your brain lights up and rewires itself for resilience. The fifth and final habit: sleep. Specifically, consistent sleep timing. I know, it sounds boring, but neuroscientists at UC Berkeley found that sleep deprivation doesn't just make you tired. It fundamentally alters how your brain processes emotion. Even one night of poor sleep increases amygdala reactivity by 60%, meaning you're literally more emotionally volatile. But consistency matters more than duration. Your brain craves predictability. Going to bed and waking up at the same time daily, even on weekends, stabilizes your circadian rhythm, which regulates serotonin and dopamine production throughout the day. Here's the truth: happiness isn't something you find. It's something you build, one neural pathway at a time. These 5 habits: specific morning gratitude, 20 minutes of daily movement, face-to-face connection, regular flow states, and consistent sleep, aren't just feel-good suggestions. They're protocols backed by decades of neuroscience that physically reshape your brain. Your brain is changing right now. The only question is, are you rewiring it for happiness or hardwiring it for misery? The choice quite literally, is yours.